Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I was also remiss yesterday. There was a sponsorship that I neglected to mention. I apologize. So we'll shift it to today, that the learning is sponsored by Rochelle Diamond in memory of Chaim Diamond, Chaim ben Arav Avram Mordechai, whose yahrzeit is coming up. It's the 9th of Tammuz. It should be a schus for his neshama. Okay, we are in the middle of the Ramban on chapter 16, verse 5. The Ramban is discussing a very interesting question, which is, what were the demographics of Korach's group? The Ramban says that, it says in the pasuk, they had Vanashim b'nei Yisrael, people from the Jewish people, and that means it was firstborns from across the spectrum of Klal Yisrael. The Rabbeinu Hananel is cited by the Ramban to say that it was only Leviim. And so obviously it depends what the complaint is going to be defined by who was doing the complaining. So according to the Ramban, the firstborns were upset. What were they upset about? They were upset that they had lost the unique privilege of being the ones to serve God in a special way, and that they lost their privilege to the tribe of Levi. So there was also a complaint having to do with Aaron being the Kohen Gadol, and that was something that irritated Korach and presumably some of the Leviim. But Korach was quite the strategist. Korach understood that he needed to have talking points that would hit a wide cross-section of the nation. So he got people riled up about the whole, why did the firstborns lose their rights in the first place? That's according to Ramban. According to the Rabbeinu Hananel, it was only Leviim. So it doesn't make any sense to say that the Leviim were upset that the firstborns lost their rights. So therefore, according to Rabbeinu Hananel, what they were upset about is, who says that only the Kohanim can serve in this special way? I mean, Aaron and his sons are members of the tribe of Levi. Maybe all of the tribe of Levi should have these rights. So the Ramban, remember, says that it wasn't just the tribe of Levi. So then the obvious question on the Ramban is, why, when Moshe is speaking to the group, does he say, for example, Rav lochem b'nei Levi? There's a lot already for you, sons of Levi. So according to Rabbeinu Hananel, it makes sense, because the whole group were Leviim. According to Ramban, the whole group weren't Leviim, so why is he addressing himself specifically to Leviim? So if you look in the Ramban, this is a lengthy Ramban, so it's probably around a quarter to halfway through, beginning with Avoltam Rav Lochem B'nei Levi. It's probably around 20 lines into the Ramban. Avoltam Rav Lochem B'nei Levi, the meaning of that phrase according to Ramban, Ki Korach haya mefate kol hashvatim, ki lechvodam rotz lahaksura avoda levchoreya. Korach tricked the people. Korach said, this is not about me. This is not about my tribe. This is about each of you who are firstborns. Kasher Omar, ki kol hoida kulam kadoshim. Remember, Korach's line to Moshe, all of the congregation are holy. Moshe b'chachmaso gila matspon risho l'chol ha'am. So Moshe is responding in a very shrewd way to Korach. Moshe is trying to show the people that they're not getting the real deal here. Because kihu alku nasot soik, by saying, Levi's, you're getting a lot already, Moshe's intimating to the people, he's tricking you. He's just upset that he's not the Kohen. He's not upset about your rights. He's upset about his rights. The Amar lo shadai b'chvod shifto Rav lochem b'nei Levi v'chazar v'Amar Shimon b'nei Levi l'Korach gdolam zetam v'yomer Moshe al Korach. So what Moshe is doing is Moshe is addressing himself to the entire tribe of Levi, whatever Leviim are part of the group, though that, according to Ramban, is not the entire group, just because he's hoping that some of the Leviim will peel off of Korach when they hear these words from Moshe. Now, next issue that this same Ramban deals with. This was a very interesting solution that Moshe has. Moshe says, here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow I want everybody to come, and you, all 250 of you, and Aaron, you're going to light the incense and see what happens. Where did he get this idea from? How did he know? How did he know a terrible punishment would befall Korach and his group? And maybe the follow-up question is, and if a terrible punishment befalls Korach and his group, that probably means they're doing something wrong by lighting the incense. Why is he so sure that Aaron's not going to get punished for lighting the incense if he's not supposed to light the incense? Hine Moshe me'atzmo chashav hamachshava hazos. Says the Ramban, Moshe thought this up on his own. How did he decide? Why didn't he say, we're going to see who's going to pour wine on the mizbeach, on the altar? I mean, why did he light the incense? Because Moshe already saw what happened not so long ago to Nadav and Avihu. When the sin of Nadav and Avihu, when they died, was because they burnt the incense. So Moshe knows that that's very potent. So he tells Korach and his people, and he knows what happens when someone lights it when they're not supposed to. Why don't you guys light it and see what happens? Now, okay, so now why is Aaron lighting it? Maybe he'll meet the same fate if Nadav and Avihu. And he permitted Aaron to go ahead because it was essential for the moment. Oh, the other possibility for what the calculation is to have Aaron light as well is maybe the incense hadn't been burnt yet that day. So Moshe assumes that Moshe knows that there's one burning of incense that's appropriate. And Moshe assumes that God will look favorably upon Aaron's lighting the incense because he, of course, is the Kohen Gadol appointed by God, whether or not Korach and his people appreciate that. V'yesh there are those who say, Ki vayishma Moshe vayipol al panav, lidrosh es Hashem lodas mayaseh. We read the pasuk yesterday that after Korach comes with his people, Moshe falls on his face. What did Moshe do when he fell on his face? So, I think most of us assume he just davened to Hashem that everything should turn out okay. Some Mefarshim say he davened to Hashem to find out what to do. And Hashem told him exactly what to do. That's why it prefaces Moshe's response with saying that Moshe fell on his face, because whatever Moshe is about to say was an answer to his prayers from God. And the Ramban says it's not so strange that it doesn't even say that God told Moshe this, and Moshe says, and we're supposed to understand that God told it to Moshe. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Now, about 15 lines later, the Ramban says, "Re'isi lu'unklis shetirgem kol ketoras on his cares parsha ketoras kilshono lo amar bo ketoras busman kiminhago nira shesavich lo haya ketoras asam shel kodesh haval lavono chayotzi ba shektira l'nesayom." The Unklis has a really interesting point. The Ramban is pointing out a nuance in the Unklis. The standard Unklis, of course, is the Aramaic translation of the Psukim. The standard translation that Unklis gives for the Ketores, for the incense in the Mishkan, is Ketores Busman, which was some language that's supposed to be fine-smelling scent. The Ramban says, if you look in this story, wherever it says Ketores in the Pasuk, the Unklis doesn't say Ketores Busman, it just says Ketores. So the Ramban says, you know what that teaches us? That teaches us that this lighting of the incense was not the one for the commandment for the day. And actually, more than what I said, this was not the regular incense. This was just some incense. Moshe said, hey, let's just take such and such and burn it. And that'll be just a sign. God will tell us who's accepted. In other words, Moshe wasn't having Aaron, forgive the pun, play with fire. Because Moshe knew that was very dangerous. So Moshe says, you know what? We'll have everybody light something. It's not that it's a vote in the Mishkan. It's just sort of, this will be God's way of showing who he accepts to light the real incense. Okay. The other possibility the Ramban says is maybe Unklis believes that it is the regular ingredients of the Ketores. It's just he doesn't want to refer to it this way because it's not the actual mitzvah Ketores. Okay, fine. So that's a very interesting Ramban. Now I'd like to go ahead to verse 50. So basically, Korach and his followers are definitely in. Moshe tries to talk to Dasan and Aviram and kind of calm them down, and nothing doing. Now it says, Vayichar l'Moshe ma'od. Moshe became very angry. Vayomer el Hashem, and he said to Hashem, Al tefen al minchasam, don't turn to their offerings. Lo chamor echad mehem nasasi, v'lo areyosi esachad mehem. I have not taken any of their donkeys, nor have I done anything bad to any of them. What's Moshe saying exactly to Hashem here? The second half of the pasuk is interesting in its own right, but the first half of the pasuk, what does that mean? Don't turn to their offerings. I mean, does Moshe have a right to decide what mitzvos count for what? I mean, let God figure that out. Isn't that how God? Hashem, don't accept their offerings. Isn't that God's department? So Korach on pasuk Tesvav, Vayomer Hashem el Hashem al Tefen, Hakavana letzad shara haflos sinos harashoyim imo. Moshe saw the tremendous hatred here. Mizahikir hayosam bechinas hara gamur. Moshe saw they were really like absolute evil. Asher tivo lisno bechinas hatov sinas mavis below siba. They just are like hating goodness for the sake of hating it. I want to be very clear. We didn't read the psukim, but as I said a moment ago, this is not just that Korach and his group. This is Dasan and Aviram really lambasted Moshe just now. You can look for yourselves if you like in the previous psukim. These people, this is like utter hatred. And that and only that is why Moshe says don't turn to their offerings. Everybody has merits. We all do good things. We believe very much that God rewards everyone for the good things that they do, even the wicked. So therefore Moshe was worried. These people also have their own mitzvos. Maybe their good deeds will put them in good stead. Shazchus tola, because people have, merits in the waiting. Therefore he requests of God, and he says, don't turn to their offerings. Perish. So it's still an interesting thing, but the Korach says, because the terrible hatred with which they're communicating, he asks Hashem that whatever merits they have in the past of offerings or whatever just shouldn't count. Interesting thing to think about. So we discussed the Ramban and the Rabbeinu Hananel and the Uncles. We discussed the Ramban and the Rabbeinu Hananel in terms of who was in Korach's group, and we discussed the Ramban and the Uncles in terms of what exactly was the story with this whole idea of having them light the incense, and we discussed the Korach regarding Moshe's request to God.